What is going on, TFA fam? I hope you're all doing well. Hope you're all doing awesome. Hope you have some positivity, something good going on in your lives. It is the Week 10 start sit rankings, Q&A, trades, waivers. This is the show for the TFA fam. This is the TFA fam show. We are the show for the people. It is your co-host Cody Kutzer. You can find me on Twitter at @CKutzerFF. Joined as always by the TFA OG himself, Kevin Steele. You can find him on Twitter at FantasyRath13. Before we kick this off and get into the shenanigans and what have you, Kev, I just want to say for those of you who don't know, Kev is a veteran. Today is obviously Veterans Day, so Kev, just want to say, from myself, from the TFA fam, from the U.S., from the entire nation, we thank you for your service. We've been we're lucky enough to have some veterans who are contributing for TFA and who have contributed. Dynasty Infidel Tom Corson, who does the prop show with me and the Dynasty podcast. He is a vet. CJ, who had to take a temporary hiatus. He's a vet. And then Kent Wyrock started off at TFA, and now he is a writer over at PFF. So just want to extend a thank you for your service, man.
I appreciate it. Yeah. It's yeah. Thank you. I don't know what to say. I never know what to say.
Got Abraham chiming in. Appreciate you chiming in as well, Abraham. So what I want to do real quick is I just want to roll through some news and notes, and then I have a question I just threw Kev right before we went live, so he didn't really have too much time to think about it. So give him a second to think about that. But basically the news that we have so far: Christian McCaffrey, David Johnson unlikely to play. Preston Williams hit IR. Raheem Mostert looked like they were hoping to get him back in Week 10. He's not going to be playing, so he's going to be inactive again this week. Jack Doyle has already been announced as inactive, which if you're scrambling for tight ends, this obviously makes Trey Burton and Mo Alley Cox a lot more viable, considering there's only going to be two of them instead of the three-headed mess. There was news out of from the New York Jets that LaMichael Pirine is going to be treated as the lead back going forward, so the organization can kind of see what he has to offer as they obviously, throwing this season to the wayside. So if you're needy, you can go out and grab him. And also something to monitor: Antonio Gibson did not practice today. Now, we always say to take the Wednesday practice reports with a grain of salt, but this, from what I've seen, this was a new injury that kind of popped up. So J.D. McKissick, I think he becomes a must-add for running back needy teams, especially those in 12, 14, 16 team leagues. If he's still available on your waiver wire and you have someone who you can drop to speculatively hold on to him, I would definitely go ahead and do that, because obviously McKissick has been involved in the passing game a lot more than Antonio Gibson. Gibson only has one third down touch all season, which is mind-boggling. Like that does not make any sense, that this dude, who's a converted wide receiver, all the athleticism that he has, one third down touch. So that was I think that kind of wraps up all the news and notes that I think that we need to go over. But the question I threw out to Kev right before we went live, we always toot our horns. You always see the victory laps on Twitter. We have always prided ourselves on being accountable to you, to the people. So the question I threw out to Kev, what has been one of, or a handful of, your biggest misses from, going from the offseason as we headed into the fantasy season? What have you been wrong the most about so far?
I really can't think of anything.
This fucking guy.
I feel like I just nailed the whole thing. I don't know. I guess maybe I was a little bit lower on DK Metcalf. I had him as like a low end wide receiver 2, I think, and he's been obviously a wide receiver 1.
Kev still needs some time to think. I was definitely wrong on Ryan Tannehill. I didn't think he was going to be able to put together back-to-back performances. Obviously, he hasn't played at the level that he did at the end of his run last year, but he's still been playing really well. That he's someone who I was just completely disregarding. I think I had him as, geez, I mean, probably like QB 22, if I'm remembering correctly. Is basically he was a low end QB2 for me. I was wrong on that one. Stephon Diggs, I was I was way wrong on Stephon Diggs. He's somebody who I did not see working out in this offense, especially to the extent that he has. Now, obviously, I don't think too many people had him as a top 5 wide receiver, but I think I had him. I think I had him as like a wide receiver 3 coming into the year. And then the other one that I'm remembering now that I'm starting to spew this out of my mouth and telling on myself was also Hunter Henry. I think I had him as basically like tight end 22, 24, something like that. Like basically not even worth thinking about. So those were some of my like big misses coming into this year.
Yeah, I think after the year we should go back and look at what our draft rankings were. I have to pull those up to figure out exactly kind of maybe who I was too low on or too high on. I'm sure there's some here and there. I'm sure Cam Akers is definitely one of them. I know that I was pretty high on him.
Yeah,
that has been a massive miss so far. But yeah, there's probably a few of them that I definitely should have been higher on. I think we were all too low, obviously, on James Robinson, but no one saw that coming.
Yeah,
that was a pretty. I don't remember anybody touting James Robinson over the draft season, but yeah.
And then Mixon for me as well. I had him as RB3. Now, obviously, there's been some injury to that, but outside of that one blow up game, he was pretty disappointing overall, even outside the injury. So that RB3 payoff does not look like that is going to happen.
No. But I will say this: hey, it's week 10. This is kind of the week we all been waiting for to get a lot of these stud running backs back. It sounds like Nick Chubb is returning this week. He's been practicing. Miles Sanders, we'll have to see. I mean, he came back. He is practicing, but it's limited. But it is Wednesday, so again, we always talk about don't worry about Wednesday practices. They don't really mean anything. Thursday and Friday is what really matters. So, but yeah, I mean, Miles Sanders, Aaron Jones should be back, or Aaron Jones came back last week. So we're finally starting to get all these running backs back. Anthony Lynn said yesterday that Austin Eckler looks good, but he's not going to put a timetable on his return. So I think that he could be back in the next couple weeks. But there's also the possibility that if the Chargers continue to lose, that they just don't bring him back. And, because what is the reason to bring him back? Maybe it's some incentives or something like that. Maybe he has in his contract. But, same thing with Christian McCaffrey. Who knows? I mean, they're saying he's day to day or week to week, but with the shoulder/rib injury. But, I know a lot of people are going to want to play Mike Davis this week. We were kind of talking about it with DFS, which we'll do tomorrow night. But I don't think it's really that great of a play. I have him this week as like a mid-level or low-end RB2. I'm not super confident in it, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see what Bucs defense shows up.
Yeah, I think they're going to probably get the best. The Panthers are going to get the Bucs best effort. I assume.
I mean, let's you have any other words you want to speak on to the TFA fam. I think we can start
it's not over. I mean, unless you're like 2-7 or 1-8, then you can pretty much pack it in. But if you're a 4-5 team, 3-6 isn't crazy. There's still 4 weeks left of the fantasy season, and a couple of the leagues I've been in. I mean, I've seen teams that were 7-6 win the whole thing. I mean, really, the goal is making the playoffs. Who gives a shit about if you finish first, second, or third? Obviously, if you're in a league that has like first round buys, obviously that's important because you only have one less game to get to the championship. But regardless, once you make it in, you're in. So it doesn't really fucking matter. So I don't give a shit what your record is. If you have a shot at that, at that third spot, or if you're a team or 12-team league, 6 teams get in, whatever, however you guys do it. Keep fucking chugging away. And really, to be honest with you, if you are one of those teams, I think you're a little bit more dangerous because at that point, I think you essentially kind of throw things out the window a little bit, right? Like if a player, like let's say Joe Mixon plays this week, right? you may sit Joe Mixon, even though that he is a great team because he's a great player. Because really, you're now shooting for upside. Like every single week, if you're 3-6 and you're just fighting to stay alive, shoot for fucking upside. It's treat it like a GPP. If you don't play DFS, you don't know what I'm talking about. Like you're just essentially playing ceiling. Who cares about anything else? Because at this point, you desperately need wins. You cannot lose anymore for the rest of the season. So I wouldn't give up. Like I said, like I would shoot just for straight ceiling every week, and try to steal a win. So you can get a little a little bit different and play some guys that maybe other people wouldn't. And stuff like that. So it's kind of like playing Drew Lock last week, where not that many people played Drew Lock, I can tell you, and so I just think that that's a way to go, and that's the way that I would look at it if I was in that position.
Never give up, never surrender.
We will not go quietly through the night. Independence Day in the speech. You know what I'm talking about?
There we go. Let's go. So we got a question from Abraham queued up here. He needs an RB2 for this week. If he has if Mixon, Chubb, Carson, Gibson don't play,
we don't have to worry about this. Like so Chubb is 100%. He's playing. He's playing. He returned to practice on Wednesday. Like he's playing. So you don't have to really worry about that. The Carson one, we don't know yet. We'll have to wait and see. Mixon, I think Mixon plays this week. Again, we'll have to wait and see with that, because this whole thing with Mixon has been fucking weird. Because like even whenever the first week he was ruled out, like they were always talking about like he was on the sidelines dancing and stuff in practice dancing and everything else. Like he wasn't acting like a player that wasn't going to play. And ever since then, like he just hasn't played. And I don't know if anybody actually knows what the injury is. They really haven't said a whole lot about it. So Chubb, you can lock in. I feel pretty confident that Carson will return as well. I think he got an unlimited practice today too, but Gibson didn't practice. But again, I don't care about Wednesday practice. Friday's the one that matters. Thursday and Friday, really, especially Friday. But if you absolutely had to play somebody here, it would be Zach Moss. I think both Zach Moss and really J.D. McKissic. And you kind of talked about McKissic, and McKissic becomes, even with Antonio Gibson in the game. Yeah. The thing is that with Alex Smith out there, Alex Smith is a check down machine. And for whatever reason, it's like whenever Alex Smith is out there, they want J.D. McKissic out there with him, basically because they want to hit him with those little dump offs. And he runs a lot of routes from the slot and everything else, which is like you kind of talked about Antonio Gibson. Like that's literally what Antonio Gibson did in college, and you figure like he'd be a perfect scheme fit for that. But that's not the way they're using him. They're using J.D. McKissic in that role. So at this point, J.D. McKissic is really a solid RB3. Like he's a solid flex play every single week in PPR formats, because he's going to continue to get peppered with targets. He's kind of essentially been their wide receiver too, for the most part, because it's Terry McLaurin and him. So if I had to choose somebody in a PPR format, it probably would be Zach Moss, and then J.D. McKissic would be the two guys I'm looking for. I can't play Devin Singletary. You can drop Devin Singletary.
That hurts. I would, if all of that just completely falls apart for you, Abraham, I would be looking at I like McKissic this week. Like Kev said, even if Gibson does play, I think you can still roll out McKissic as a flex level, especially in a full PPR league. We got Walito in here as always. Walito, appreciate you jumping in. Kev, did you see the trade you made?
I did. Traded Jonathan Taylor for David Montgomery, right?
Yep.
It's about fucking time, Walito. Okay, the dude's washed. He's not washed, but he's 22. But no, like, and the funny thing is that people are talking about Jonathan Taylor, and people again got it wrong by saying that he got benched. He didn't get benched. What happened is that in the second half, after he fumbled, the Chargers in the third quarter only ran 4 plays in the third quarter. And so by the time they got the ball in the fourth quarter, they were down by 11 points and they had to throw the ball. And that's the problem with this entire backfield, is that it's a 3-man backfield that they're using the hot hand approach. So all of them are getting touches, and Nyheim Hines is the third down pass catching back, and Jonathan Taylor's not getting those work, and he's splitting the first and second down work with Jordan Wilkins. And that's why, in my opinion, you can't play the guy. Like, you have to be absolutely desperate, in my opinion, to play Jonathan Taylor. And they do have a nice schedule coming up, and it's hard to deny. And, the Colts are supposed to have one of the best, run blocking offensive lines in the league. It just hasn't happened this year. And, Could Jonathan Taylor? Now, people have brought up, well, maybe it's COVID and that they didn't get any offseason work and they didn't get to, do any OTAs and all these rookies are behind. And maybe there is something to that. But regardless, for this year, like, he's toast. Like, unless Jordan Wilkins get hurt, and that's really the only way that, in my opinion, you can play Jonathan Taylor.
If you would have told me at the beginning of the year, Jonathan Taylor's, especially after week 1 when Marlon Mack got hurt, if you would have told me like week 2, like, hey man, 8 weeks from now, Jonathan Taylor is only going to be a recommended play if Jordan Wilkins gets hurt, there is a 0.0% chance that I believe the word that was coming out of your mouth. But
I don't know. I think most people would have thought that. Everybody was high on Jonathan Taylor. I was high on Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be between him and Clyde Edwards-Helaire, the two backs to own. But like I said, like, you have to adjust eventually and start to look at what he is and not what you hope he is and what you hope he can be. And people are just don't want to give up on him. I'm not saying he's. Would it surprise me if next year all of a sudden he kind of put things together? Do I think that he's going to be an elite running back? No, I don't think that's ever going to happen. I think he could end up being like a Ronald Jones type, where, given opportunities and stuff like that, where he can be a functioning running back and be somebody who in fantasy circles that could be like a low end RB1, high end RB2 type. Yes, I think that's possible. But do I think that the ceiling that we all thought that he was going to have of a top 5 back, is that ever going to happen? Probably not.
Hopefully we don't get any more Jonathan Taylor questions for the rest of the night. That was enough. We're gonna have to clip this out and just send it to him if we get any more. Alejandro wants to know, what are your thoughts on Mark Andrews' rest of season?
I want to like him. The schedule, like we've said, like, really opens up for this entire pass attack moving forward, and so I think that he's actually a really good buy low, because he's really been pretty terrible. And it's not necessarily him. They're just not throwing the ball. So, for me, like, I just feel like that's what you have to do. And so, like, I think you can buy him low. Like, the tight end landscape is horrible right now. There's really nobody else out there. And so, there's what? How would you say that the reliable, consistent tight ends right now? 2?
3. Waller
is Waller, but I don't even know if I would consider Waller like an every week, just consistency. It's been Travis Kelce, really. And TJ Hawkinson.
Yeah. Yeah, the thing with Andrews is, if you have him,
I guess Waller. Yeah, I guess you could consider Waller. Okay, yeah, Waller's fair. He only had the 1 week where he had 7.8, and then he had week 3 2.9. But other than that, he's had at least double-digit fantasy points in every game. So yeah, you could throw him in there.
Oh, Christ, 7.8 for a tight end. You might as well count that as 20. That's that's winning, baby. Let's go.
Yeah.
But yeah, the thing with Mark Andrews is, like, if you are rostering Mark Andrews, I would absolutely hate myself if I was like, you know what? I've had enough of them. I'm going to pick somebody up off of waivers and I'm playing them. And you go and pick up Logan Thomas, or, I can't remember who we talked about with tight ends this week, or, one of the Colts tight ends. I would be absolutely kicking myself if I plugged one of those waiver wire tight ends in and, I had Mark Andrews sitting there and goes 5 for 50 and 2 touchdowns. Because that's well within his range of outcomes every single week. It's just been super shitty up until this point. If you try and trade him, you're not getting back the value that especially the draft value and what he could provide if he were hitting. So you're just kind of stuck with him. I really don't know, unless you can maybe drop down like a slight tier and make, like, if you just want to throw that out to someone, and because you couldn't even do Andrews for Hawk right now straight up. If I had Hawk and you try to give me Andrews, I'm telling you to pound salt. So I have no idea what to even expect from him if you tried to trade Andrews. So unfortunately, I think right now it's just kind of a situation, like I said, where you're stuck. You just have to kind of cross your fingers and hope for the best. At least the one thing the one positive you do have in your pocket is the fact that like Lamar Jackson is just simply not throwing outside the numbers this year. Like it's worse than it was last year. Like he's just not doing it. Obviously, Andrews lives in the middle of the field, so at least you have that going for you, I guess. If you're looking for some silver lining.
So, okay. So, I mean, you look at Mark Andrews. I mean, he's still only playing 65% of the snaps because he does not block. So, anytime, on the run, whenever they're out there and they're definitely running the ball, he's not on the field. But he's only playing 65% of the snaps, which is 27th in the league. However, he is still, if you look at the other numbers, he's still 5th among tight ends in air yards. He's 3rd in air yard share, 5th in red zone targets. He is accounting for 21% of the target share in this offense. Now, it should be mentioned that they are still only throwing 29 times a game, which is 31st in the league. So some of it's really just volume, that they're just not throwing the ball enough to make him relevant, right? And so, or make him a weekly option. But like I said, they've had some tough matchups here. It's not like it's been, they've had a bunch of great matchups and they're just don't need to throw the ball. Indy is a tough matchup. Pittsburgh was definitely a tough matchup. Kansas City, they got railroaded. I think that there is certainly, and if you look at the plus matchups they've had against Washington, he had 20.7. Against Cincinnati, great matchup, had 17.6. So, I mean, there is something to like there. And like I said, if you look at the rest of their schedule, it is really solid. So I definitely think you should be buying Mark Andrews, especially for his upside and ceiling. And the rest of the season schedule is amazing.
Yeah, it's buy or hold. You're not you can't really sell him at this point. The Demolition Man wants to know what is up with CMC. Seems like it's something bad since he's going for a second opinion. You never want to see the second opinion.
Right. Like I said, I think it's possible that they shut him down for the rest of the year. He came back. It's crazy that he's played in 3 games and he's still like the RB 25 on the season. That's how bad things are for the running back position right now. Like that the man's only played in 3 games and we're in week 10 and he's RB 25. Anyway, I don't know. Like I said, he got hurt in the last play of the game and it looked like that he came down on it in the way that it looked like it was a shoulder. When people said his ribs, I was a little bit confused because he immediately grabbed his shoulder and went to the sideline. And then you saw him on the sideline under his pad, looked like it was like dislocated and they were trying to I'm not a doctor, so let's be honest here. Okay, I'm not Dr. Steele over here. Just looked like they were trying to put it back into place or something like that. I don't know, could be wrong, but anyway, so yeah, it's certainly disheartening and it's a shame, right? The dude in the 3 games he's played, he is crushed, just absolutely crushed. But he hasn't been able to stay healthy this year, and so yeah, I mean, we'll see.
The 23 Airman traded Gurley in a package with Chark and Godwin for Derrick Henry and Amari Cooper. Thoughts?
If you got back the Derrick Henry side, I think you gave up too much.
That was my initial.
Yeah, because I mean,
there's no reason for Godwin to be involved in that.
I could see it. I could see the other owners Derrick Henry is a top 8 running back, I guess. And Gurley really hasn't been that, but I mean, I guess Gurley actually has been better than that. Not better than Derrick Henry, but he's been, he's like a low end RB1, high end RB2, but on the most part, but most of that's come off the 9 touchdowns that he scored. So I just think you give up a little bit too much. I wouldn't want to trade DJ Chark with Godwin just because Amari, to me, like, I don't know what to think about him, to be honest with you, because this Cowboy offense is so bad. It sounds like Andy Dalton could be back after this week. So I think he'd maybe give up a little bit too much, but I don't hate it. We know Derrick Henry, once wintertime comes, just explodes. So, and that's coming. So who knows? I don't know.
I would have wanted something more reassuring than Amari Cooper back in that deal.
Yeah,
Especially
even if it was something that's like high upside guy, that's like a Christian Kirk or something like that, then somebody in a better offense.
Speaking of trades, obviously we have gone on diatribes before about having no vetoes in leagues, but Demolition Man wants to know if this is a shady deal. The team that's in last place traded Keenan and Mostert for Evans and Fournette.
No, not really. I mean, because Mostert, he's still out, right? He's not playing this week. And so that's kind of you kind of do whatever you want with that. It's not egregious, I don't think. Keenan Allen obviously has been a baller. Mike Evans is certainly at best right now is probably a wide receiver 3. And, Fournette looks like honestly, Leonard Fournette looks like he's taken over this backfield. The last 2 weeks, he's played at least almost 70% of the snaps in each of the last 2 weeks. Now, obviously, last week was kind of a blowout, but even the week before. So, well, yeah, of course, Noah Fant. I mean, Noah Fant has been a baller, but can the guy stay healthy? Every single week, the guy leaves the game with an injury, and like it feels like he just needs a couple of weeks of rest to get right. Because I mean, they keep putting him out every week. I could have swore I'm like he's gonna sit. They're not gonna play him because when they played the Chiefs a couple of weeks ago, like he looked bad. Like he was banged up. He barely could stay out there. And this stuff kept happening. And then he came back, played the next week. And, of course, he gets hurt again. He keeps re-aggravating the same injury. But, yes, Noah Fant should be a top 5 tight end, barring he doesn't get hurt.
Speaking of tight ends, rest of the season, Goddard, Andrews, Ebron, or Hooper. How would you rank those?
That's really close. I would probably rank it Goddard, Andrews, Hooper, and then Ebron. I love Hooper rest of season without Odell Beckham. Like I think that he is a probably locked in top 6 tight end.
Yeah, you've been bringing his name up for like the past 2 or 3 weeks. I feel like since he's come back.
Well, without OBJ in that offense, like it's going to be him and Jarvis Landry that are going to get all the targets. So, love Austin Hooper.
Yeah, that's how I would rank them as well. Rodolfo needs 3. Chris Carson, Miles Sanders, Nick Chubb, Derrick Henry, Mike Davis.
Derrick Henry, Nick Chubb, and Miles Sanders.
I, again, agree. MJ, the Pug Master is back. The Pug Lord of the Pug. Should I keep Josh Allen rest of season or try to trade for Lamar Jackson? And MJ is stating that Jackson has the easier playoff schedule.
He does, which is why we've been wanting to buy him. It's risky, I will say that, because Josh Allen does provide the rushing upside as well with his legs, and Josh Allen's played well. But we've seen in tough matchups he's really struggled. So I think this is it wouldn't be. I don't think it's a terrible idea. But honestly, at this point, I would want more in return for Joshua Allen than Lamar Jackson. Like that's where we're at with them. So like I would actually ask for like a kicker involved in that. I would not want Lamar Jackson straight up.
No, absolutely not. There's no way you could do that. I've been a Josh Allen hater since day one, but right now in 2020, if you came to me and you were offering me Lamar Jackson for Josh Allen, you better add something to it. And it better not just be like a Mike Davis or something. Like it better be like a solid startable. I mean, not that Mike Davis hasn't been startable, but unless we get word that whatever, just like a piece that's not like just an upside boom bust.
Somebody throws on Latavius Murray or something.
Yeah. Like I want something not substantial in the sense of it has to be like a top 12 asset, but something I look at and go, okay, I can play them week in, week out. Noel wants to know if Montgomery doesn't play, do I go Gus Edwards or Ryan Nall? I think Mark Ingram was back in a limited capacity today, so he might be able to return this week. And if he does, that 3-headed backfield just becomes a mess once again. No, I would look around. I would see if McKissick. I would look for McKissick to see if McKissick is out there. Who were some of the other
Matt Breida should be an option. If somebody would have dropped him because he did not play last week, because he came back and returned to practice today in a limited fashion. LaMichael Pirine, I guess. Well, no, they're on.
On bye.
Bye.
Let me get rid of this. Yeah, no, I would look around and see if any of these names were available to you. Like Duke Johnson is somebody I would much rather play over those. But obviously, if you're looking at Gus Edwards and Ryan Nall, probably wouldn't be available. Does anybody else on this list stick out to you, Kev? Like I said, the one I would be looking for is J.D. McKissick. That would be the play that I would want over those two.
That, and I think I would be really, really monitoring that Lamar Miller. I mean, they have Lamar Miller on the roster. He has not been activated yet, but this really could be the game if they find out that David Montgomery doesn't play. I cannot imagine a scenario that they are going to lean on Ryan Nall as their starting running back. Okay, like I don't think it's going to happen.
It is 2020. This one,
I mean, I think there's a better bet that like Artavis Pierce could end up actually being the lead back.
This one was phenomenal, and I hope that this is not a joke.
Well, you know what? I don't know what that means. I guess, are they suing you? Because I guess are they saying you look older? Is that what they're saying?
Yeah, you must be the son.
Yeah, that must be it. Because, I'm only 35, so.
And I am 32, so unless there's some crazy, crazy shit going on here, it's not physically.
Hey, I was a baller when I was 3, okay? I mean, I was out there, what up, girl? Like, like.
I could talk. I could tie my own shoes.
And throw it down.
So the answer is no, Casey Kell, but appreciate you joining on Twitch. 33andMe, isn't that the DNA thing? Or 23andMe or whatever. Sanders Henry Chubb. Who's the play?
Well, how many?
Let's do this. Those are the week 10 rankings at running back here for you, Trey.
Obviously, and with these rankings, I should say, because I obviously have David Montgomery and Antonio Gibson both on here, and I am treating them as they are playing this week. So it is good news that David Montgomery has the extra day that they don't play till Monday night to be able to clear the concussion protocol. So we'll find out, and obviously these will get updated and head on for the Sunday show. So if people are looking for that as well. So
Kona, for McCaffrey, we already covered that.
I think you hold him. What else can you do? I mean, you could try to trade him, but it's tough because now he's hurt again. So again, I don't think you're going to get a ton for him. I mean, you can always throw it out there. Throw it out there and say, hey, Chris McCaffrey's on the block, but you're probably going to get some real low ball offers.
Yeah, I can't imagine you get anything that here would be the play that I would do. That's very sketchy, and if it happened to me, I'd be super pissed. But I would just let the trade offers just dangle and wait and see if any news comes in where it looks like he's going to be shut down, and then I would accept. I would be the piece of shit snake. I think that is the best thing that that you could hope for at this point, because you're just going to get low ball offers. There's no one that's going to send you an offer that's even 70% of the return that you should get on him. So as of right now, you have to hold. I mean, maybe you make a play for Mike Davis. That would be, that'd be my advice as far as if you're rostering McCaffrey. Zero Destroyer needs one out of this group: AJ Brown, Mike Thomas, Allen Robinson, or Keenan Allen. Well done. Well done.
We're sitting one.
Oh. What you thinking, Kev?
I guess I would probably end up having to sit AJ Brown.
Man, that has to be tough every single week whenever they're all healthy and not on buys. So that's a nice problem to have, though.
Yeah, I really, again, this is maybe you take a look at. I would be curious to know what your running back situation looks like if you're that loaded at wide receiver, and maybe move one of them for a running back, or build some depth because, it doesn't do any good to one of these guys on the bench. We're just about done with buys. We got a couple more weeks left and of bye weeks, so yeah.
Connor wants to know Jimmy G or Tanyan this week. And whenever I first saw it, I was like, why is Karn choosing between Jimmy Garoppolo and Tanyan? And then it hit me. So who do you got here at tight end this week?
Really close. I would lean Tanyan, but I think Tanyan has a higher ceiling, but I think Jimmy Graham has a higher floor. Let me put it that way.
Who do the Bears play? Why can I see this?
Bears play the Vikings on Monday night.
Yeah, I think I'd roll Tanyan there.
Yeah, it's close, but that's probably where I would come in.
Man, you guys are lighting the chat up, talking to each other. I honestly love seeing when you guys are going back and forth and helping each other out as Kevin and I are trying to get to all these questions as they are piling up. Worthy wants to know, do I trade any of these guys or hold on to them? Fournette, Swift, Gibson, Lindsey.
It's tough to say. I think you could, but it's tough. It's 2020. Have you seen the amount of injuries that we're getting to running backs every single week? Having depth at that position is likely going to be what is going to end up winning you a championship.
Yeah, and I don't know.
It would just depend on do you really need help at a wide receiver position? It just depends on what the rest of your roster looks like. I think you could, sure. If you want to trade Fournette because he's going to be in a committee with Ronald Jones and you never know which week to start him, sure. You could do that. Same thing with DeAndre Swift. Same thing with Antonio Gibson. Same thing with Philip Lindsay. They're all in committees. But but I also really I value the depth of the running back. Like my bench on my teams, it's pretty much all running backs, just because that depth there, and you hitting on one of those guys or something happening to, if the Lions ever got smart and cut, Adrian Peterson or something like that, something like that. But regardless, it would just really depend on what the rest of your roster look like.
Do you have a running back out of this group that you would prefer to trade? Like if you had to trade one of these guys away, is there one that sticks out to you of who you would want to trade away? Just in a vacuum, obviously all this.
It would probably come between Lindsey and Fournette. And I would probably lean towards Lindsey.
I would try and see what you could get for Gibson, possibly. I love Gibson. He was one of my favorite running backs, kind of sleepers, if you will, who wasn't really a sleeper. We need to figure out a new word for that. But between how involved McKissick has been, that offense kind of falling apart, he might be someone who still has a little bit of that name cachet that you might be able to get a solid return on. I'm not entirely sure. It's not like Fournette's been getting the snaps and the work, but he hasn't really been lighting it up. Swift, I would want to hold on to for sure. I think he's the most talented out of that group, obviously. So Gibson would be the one that I think would kind of hit that balance between getting value back and then also not shooting yourself in the foot. Kona, if you can get Aaron Jones and AJ Brown for McCaffrey, even if McCaffrey were healthy, I would do that. Let alone with the questions that he has right now. So Kona, yes, if that is sitting in your inbox right now, hurry up, turn this off, accept it, and then come back. Who do you got between Andrews and Goddard for Double D here? De Sousa.
For this week, it's Dallas Goedert.
Would you rather drop Hines or Kelly?
Kelly.
A-Rob, Godwin, Fuller, Chubb, Duke, Jay. 2 receivers, 2 flex. So basically we need to sit one.
Well, right now I could take the easy way out and say I would say Duke Johnson because we just don't know if David Johnson is going to be able to play. He is still in concussion protocol, but I'm playing Allen Robinson and I'm playing Will Fuller and I'm playing Nick Chubb. So really, it would come down to Godwin and Duke Johnson, and I would probably just lean Godwin.
Yeah, I think even in a situation where David Johnson is ruled out, I still think I'd sit Duke out of that group.
I could see the argument with Godwin because of the fact of all the weapons they have there now. But I mean, but if you go back and look last week, Chris Godwin still played the most snaps of all the wide receivers, and I think he led the team in targets as well.
Following the waves, I've got Chark, Moore, Mooney, Ayuk, Boyd, Reagor. What 3 do I start in a PPR? One of my sits would be Ayuk.
I think I would go Chark, DJ Moore, and Tyler Boyd. I think is the way I would go.
Yeah, I'd still want to see it out of a game out of Reagor where he's more involved before I would start him over some of those names. Like I said, Ayuk, not all that interested in. I know he got it done 2 weeks ago, but I don't think you have to start him over those other names. So I think I'd roll there as again we need to find something to disagree on. But Rodolfo has another trade here. Traded Elliott and Parker for Miles Sanders. Got Kirk from free agency.
Solid. I mean, Ezekiel Elliott, in his bad offensive line is banged up, so I don't hate that at all. I do think actually with the Preston Williams going on IR, pouring out for the homie, can't stay healthy. But that really is a big boost for Devontae Parker, though. I will say that. Rest of season, kind of like we saw last year with him, where he really took off. So, but I mean, really, getting Miles Sanders and Christian Kirk is a big boost, and that's the much better side that I would be on. So you did well.
Yeah.
This is Goddard.
So it's got it there for you, Waves. Jen, I got D-Hop, Metcalf, and Fuller starting. I have Kirk, Claypool, David Moore on the bench. Would you switch in any of those names? So starting D-Hop, Metcalf, and Fuller. I mean, for me, being the Claypool hater, the only one that I'd really be looking at here and adding in would be Kirk, but I'm not starting Kirk over D-Hop, Metcalf, and Fuller. Just not doing it.
No, I mean, if those are the only options you have, yeah, you're not sitting any of those guys for, or you're not starting any of those guys over the 3 that you have.
Correct.
Yeah, so you're good there.
Yeah, don't tinker. Danny Lynch in the chat. What's up, Danny? Appreciate all the hard work. Hey, man, we appreciate you joining in. We're like I said, this is we just need to rename this the TFA Fam Show. That's what it is. This is we go live twice a week, Wednesday obviously at this time, and then Sunday mornings to help you guys out, and we put out content throughout the week. But this is the one that I get excited for because I enjoy engaging with all you. So we appreciate all you guys joining in. And if you are joining us for the first time and you're not yet subscribed, please hit that button right down there for us. Really means a lot. We're picking up steam. We're getting close to that. We surpassed 600, and like I said on the Sunday show, like in the words of Bill Belichick, we are on to 700. So 2 questions here from Danny Lynch. I have to start one of these at flex: Juju, AB, Samuel, or Patterson if Montgomery is out. DJ Chark is on waivers.
Yes, you should pick up DJ Chark.
Kev's gonna say drop Curtis Samuel to pick up DJ Chark.
Well, wait. Is that Cordell Patterson?
It has to be.
So just drop Cordell Patterson for if he owns the rosters him. If that's what he's saying.
If he's rostered. But one of these needs to be at flex between Juju, AB.
Yeah, it's Juju. It's Juju. I love Juju this week. Yeah.
And you wouldn't play Chark over Juju?
No.
Hello, Jaden Flotman. Karn wants to upgrade at the wide receiver position, trying to get either A.J. Brown or Keenan Allen. So those are the targets. Who should Karn give up? Woods, Juju, Sanders, Debo, Fulgham, John Brown.
Well, I don't think you can include Debo because Debo is he still? I think he's still out this week. I believe
has not yet practiced, but has not been ruled out yet either.
Yeah. So you really can't include him. I mean, you might be able to, but I don't think that's going to be somebody you could get trade. I wouldn't want to trade Woods, but if you can trade Juju and maybe like a John Brown, especially after the week John Brown just had, I wouldn't mind doing that for Keenan Allen.
Would Keenan be your target between Brown and Keenan?
Probably, yeah. I think you can just expect a little bit more consistency out of him on a weekly basis, and as good as Justin Herbert has played. Too. I mean, A.J. Brown has been great, too. I think he's like a top 3 wide receiver over the last 5 or 6 weeks, too. So
this is Kona's first league. So, Kona, appreciate you finding us and asking us these questions.
Well, I think he's saying I'm first in my league.
My God. Reading is very difficult. Reading is very, very difficult. But yeah, if you can do A.J. Brown and Aaron Jones, if you can do that for McCaffrey, absolutely do that. 33 of me is saying would not trade McCaffrey because it might make someone better, but we don't know at this point if McCaffrey's even going to be available the rest of the season, especially if going for the second opinion, just got that massive deal. Like the Panthers seem to want to play it, easy and safe with him anyway. So those are 2 play. That is not you're not selling low on McCaffrey by any means if you're getting Aaron Jones and A.J. Brown. My apologies for not being able to read. Xenon Soto, Kamara at RB1. Who should I start at RB2 spot? Moss, Malcolm Brown, and Duke Johnson.
David Johnson's rolled out. It's Duke Johnson.
Is that a fish?
I have him borderline RB1 this week. So he is a top end RB2. And obviously you can see Zach Moss here as an RB2 as well. So Yeah, it's Duke Johnson. As long as that is barring that David Johnson is out.
Yes. When do you think CMC has a chance to return before the bye?
Sure. I mean, it depends on who you listen to. I mean, Matt Rule says that he's day to day, but he's going to get a second opinion. So that tells me that Christian McCaffrey doesn't trust what the training staff is telling him. So
or doesn't like what they're telling him.
Yeah. So we'll see.
If Ben is playing this week, do I play Ben or Goff? This one coming from Tam.
I like Goff. It's the matchup against the 49ers or 49ers, the Seahawks.
Yes.
Yeah, so I love this matchup for both sides. I love this entire offense. I love both offenses here in this game. I think this game has potential to be a shootout. I do like Big Ben as well. I definitely think Big Ben plays. I think it's just like Matt Stafford last week. He'll be ruled in probably on Sunday to play. But not to say that he has a bad matchup either against Cincinnati. I just lean a little bit more towards Goff.
Brian, before we answer this question, let us know who your other options would be, because you're just going to get a no from Kev, and then he's going to go on another 10-minute rant about Jonathan Taylor being the 2020 version of
Christine Michael.
Christine Michael. My God. Just so going back to Noel's question, was asking about, I think it was Gus Edwards and who was the other one? Ryan Nall. Cam Akers and Matt Breida are available on waivers. The rest of the ones.
So Noel, this is what I would tell you. Unless you're like just desperate for a win this week, I would drop Ryan Nall now and not even worry about it. And because Cam Akers and Matt Breida, especially Cam Akers, I would want on my roster as that late season fill-in, because I think eventually there's still a shot that he takes over this back. I mean, he looks like the best running back they have back there. And the limited opportunities he's got, I mean, he shows how explosive he can be. Got hurt. But I think Cam Akers has the potential to be like a lottery ticket here. The Rams' offensive line has actually been fantastic this year. They're second in the – so right now, then that was kind of the biggest – which is funny because that, like, heading into this year by, like, some of the fantasy analysts, that was kind of like what people were talking about with the Rams was how bad their offensive line is. And the Rams' offensive line is old, and he's not going to be able to run. The Rams' offensive line has been really good this year. They are second in adjusted line yards. They are first in power rank, 13th in stuff rank, 8th in second level, and 17th in open rank. Like, they've been really good. And they've also been good against the pass as well. They're number one in pass protection. They've only allowed 10 sacks on the year, or a 3.5% adjusted sack rate. So this offensive line has been really good. But the problem has been that they've just used all three running backs. So if something happens to Darrell Henderson or Malcolm Brown, I think that spells good news for Cam Akers. So if this is just a 1 week thing, and if you can make it, with the other options you have, that's probably what I would roll with. Because I still think there's a decent shot David Montgomery does return. We saw a couple of weeks ago whenever Allen Robinson was in the concussion protocol, and they activated him on Saturday when they played on Sunday. So, I mean, this could go all the way up to Sunday. We could find out that they're going to activate him off protocol. So, and I wouldn't want to play Ryan Nall, okay? I wouldn't. Like I said, I think there's still a shot that they bring up Lamar Miller, who's on the roster, who they easily could bring up this week. They also have Artavis Pierce, who I think that it would be a better fit for this week as well. I just don't think it's Ryan Nall. So I would drop Ryan Nall for sure. And then was this the one that had Cordell Patterson? I can't remember. Anyways, but then I would I like Cam Akers for the long term, but Matt Breida would be the short term answer.
Yeah, and today Henderson was held out of practice, so definitely something to monitor, which would obviously make Akers way more intriguing instead of dealing with that 3-headed monster. Crosscode, I have a 3-headed dragon in Chubb, Carson, and Mixon. Drafted Chubb, traded for Carson and Mixon. They haven't paid off at all. Depends when you trade it for Carson, because Carson's been legit.
Carson was balling before he got hurt. Yeah. I mean, he was doing really well.
Maybe it's like that week.
And then Mixon's been hurt.
Yeah.
But Mixon hasn't been very well. I mean, Mixon had that one really big week, and that's been about it.
So considering the three that Crosscode has, would you try to trade for Kamara or Aaron Jones?
I don't think you
now?
might be able to get that done with Aaron Jones, but I highly doubt you're going to be able to trade Carson and Mixon for Alvin Kamara. I think it would actually take more than that, and by that, process of elimination would tell me that you're probably giving up too much, or it could require like a Chubb and Mixon, which then again you're giving up too much to acquire one of them. So I think you hold on to them. I think as long as Carson comes back, he's going to take over that role as the complete lead back and the workhorse in this backfield. And, maybe if something were to happen, and maybe if somebody drops like DJ Dallas because he's no longer playing, maybe you go and scoop him up for insurance policy.
If Justin Jackson sits this week, do you think Ballage is going to have another good game?
No, I mean, right now they sent him back down to the practice squad, right?
He's back up.
Well, regardless of that, I still there's no way I'm trusting him. I actually think Tremaine Pope, as long as he plays, would actually be a more intriguing, and I think Joshua Kelly as well. So I know people, Kalen Ballage did what he did last week, but we'll see what happens with Justin Jackson. But again, I still think this is probably likely going to be a 3-down or a 3-back committee with Tremaine Pope, Ballage, and Joshua Kelly.
You're not buying into the Ballage revenge game?
No. And no, I would not start him over Dobbins or Zach Moss.
Even if Pope and Justin Jackson are inactive?
Yes. Even if. Kalen Ballage is fucking terrible, okay? He is not good. There's a reason he's been cut from so many different teams, okay? Like, he's not a thing. And so I know he had a little flash last week, but, like, he's not good. So, like, no, I would not. I would much rather play Zach Moss. I would much rather play J.K. Dobbins.
Nando hits, should I drop Gus Edwards for McKissick?
I think in a PPR format, I would.
Especially if Ingram is going to be making his return.
Yes.
Yeah. Because even though that backfield has looked better without Ingram in it, he's still going to get his touches, and it's still going to go right back to a headache and a guessing game. Drop Wilkins for Duke Johnson, also coming from Mr. Hits.
Now, do it now. Do it now. Immediately, as quick as you can. Like, don't even just I know I don't want people to log off from watching, but jump out, go do it, and then come back.
33 and me back in here. Question is, I need a flex. Justin Jefferson, Rager, Wilkins, Ayuk, Kirk. Starting Thielen at the WR2 spots.
I would go Kirk, but I do think Rager's actually interesting. But not that. But I can't start him over the options you have. I would go Christian Kirk, and if it wasn't him, it would be Justin Jefferson. But yeah, I'm going Kirk. You
would double up on the Vikes. You feel okay about that?
If I had to, but no, that's why I would go Christian Kirk. But it's not a particularly great matchup. The Bears' pass defense has actually been much better than the run defense has. So I don't love it, and I feel like this game is going to be a gross, low-scoring game.
Crosscode with another question: Judy, Justin Jefferson, or Randall Cobb in the flex?
Judy.
Nailed it. They got it. It was a play on 23andMe. Brian Hill, would you trade DJ Chark for Mike Davis?
I think you could do that.
L. Bauer, would you trade away James Robinson after this game versus the Packers because of his schedule? Yes. Bingo, Yahtzee. That is absolutely the
bingo,
the play.
Bango, let's go. Yes, you should. Their upcoming schedule. We've talked about it on some of the shows, on the buy-sell shows that we do offline that we post on the channel. That James Robinson, and really this entire, I shouldn't say the entire Jaguars offense, because we're really talking about two players. That's him and DJ Chark. Their schedule gets pretty brutal. coming up. They got a couple nice matchups, and I know they still have to play I think it's the Steelers. I have to pull it back up, but they have a really tough matchup, or they have a really tough schedule moving forward, and it's not good for James Robinson. That's why I've talked about trading James Robinson while his value is as high as it probably is, and I think you can still get a lot for him.
Absolutely, and unless you need the points this week, I would be okay with letting him go now before all of because we're about to start getting hit and just completely smothered with fantasy playoff content coming up. So if the people in your league who are playing are reading a lot of fantasy content, they're going to see that name as a sell high. So unless you need the points this week, I might even look at trading him away before the game to try and get out of that one. HG wants to know, the running backs on the team are Zeke and Carson. Would you try to go after? So this one team has Sanders, Mixon, Henry, all on the same team, along with Montgomery. Sitting there with Zeke and Carson, would you try to go after one of those running backs?
The tough part is like, so you're not going to be able to do it with Zeke. Or you're not going to be able to, I mean, Carson, then you're just kind of trading a 1-for-1 thing. So you obviously want to get better at running back because I don't know if you can trust Zeke. So from there, it becomes, are you creating a bigger hole at wide receiver just to acquire a running back? Because I think Mixon would be the one you probably could acquire because Mixon's the one that hasn't played and his value is not going to be as high. And when he was playing, he wasn't doing very well either. Miles Sanders probably is in that little bit of that same boat, but obviously he was early productive when he was actually playing before he went down. So people, fantasy owners trust on those two guys are not going to be as high as some of these other guys. Obviously, like Derrick Henry is going to require, a large haul to be able to acquire that. So I don't see that coming. But I think, Sanders and Mixon, you possibly could. But I think it would take probably like Robert Woods and, probably Will Fuller or something. And maybe even something more than that. Maybe even throwing in like a Drake to acquire. At least for, most time, because when you look at a running backs are just so much more valuable in fantasy, especially this year because of all the injuries we've seen. And so being able to trust, like I can go out and acquire a wide receiver pretty easily and one that I feel comfortable. There's so many options out there to go with, but at running back, there's just not. And so guys like Miles Sanders, Joe Mixon, even Joe Mixon, who has not played that well, like still like getting a bell cow running back is just so much more valuable. And I think it's a little bit harder to do unless you can compensate that guy. So maybe you could throw in like a Chase Edmonds. Maybe you could try like a Woods and Chase Edmonds for a Joe Mixon. I think maybe that could get it done. But, I think that's probably what you're looking at.
Do you think you could just go 1-for-1 Zeke for Mixon?
You could, but I think you're creating another issue. I don't know if that's I don't know if you're upgrading there.
Right. Just trying to think of ways to, like you said, not to try and create other holes or give up that depth that might become important throughout the rest of the week, the rest of the year. Mike Babington wants to know Melvin Gordon or Gus Edwards. I'll go Melvin there.
Yeah, Melvin and then Jonnu.
Is it worth stashing Cam Akers?
Yes.
Absolutely. Especially if you have that spot, you kind of rotate at the end of your roster for sure. Irv Smith or Logan Thomas?
Irv has been trending up every single week, so I love him. Yeah. This one I would go Mike Davis.
This is Mike Davis?
I would assume it is, yeah.
I was trying to find, and I could not. So assuming it's Mike Davis, go there. Mateo Lombardo, trade for Mark Andrews?
Sure.
Yeah.
Like we talked about, I think he's an option, but like I said, what are you having to give up to get him is the question. If you can buy low on him, absolutely. And who is your tight end? That would be the other question. But then again, I guess as long as it's not Darren Waller, TJ Hawkinson, or Travis Kelce, you're probably looking for a tight end.
Yeah. Reagor or Henderson for Alejandro?
I would go Reagor.
Yeah, Henderson might not even play. So Xenon has Gronk. Would you stash Goddard?
Yeah. And I would actually play Goddard this week over Gronk.
Traded Juju for Andrews.
I can see why maybe you do that, but I probably would have leaned towards Juju because Juju started to come on here the last couple of weeks. Did you see what he tried to do last week against the Cowboys? Whenever he tried to go out there, he tried to do the TO where he tried to go out to the car and they wouldn't let him. I'm like, oh, my man out here trying to do him dirty. But anyway, it's not the end of the world. If you're strong at wide receiver, I get it because, tight end has been such a dumpster fire and, it could end up paying off because, Mark Andrews can get hot at any time. As long as his passing offense gets going, I think that could actually be a win.
So Mateo still has Devontae Adams, T. Higgins, and Anthony Miller with Jacoby Myers chilling there.
Yeah, so you took a hit at wide receiver because now, that's not great depth because Anthony Miller is not something. That is a very volatile wide receiver. So I probably would have just streamed and not given up Juju, but it is what it is.
Or you should have been able to get something back on top like that, especially with the way that Andrews has been playing. Like you said, Juju's been coming on, but so he was trying to mix it up, bro. Got Rice, Goat Rice, Ross Moss. Fuck myself up.
Moss
and McKinnon. He says Moss, Josh Jacobs, or Mike Davis in a full PPR for Anthony.
Josh Jacobs.
23 Airman looking to trade for Michael Thomas. Currently has Breeze, Wentz, Henry, Connor, Duke, Dobbins, McLaurin, Galladay, Cooper, Reagor, Jacoby, Henry, and Reed at tight end. Any thoughts or ideas on a little package here to go get MT?
Well, you can't really do a lot with Galladay right now because he's hurt. Cooper is underperforming. Rager's nice, and obviously Jacoby Myers is coming off a career game where he just went almost nuclear.
You don't don't have the running back depth to be able to move one of those running backs to get an MT.
And then at tight end, you don't really have anything unless it was like Travis Kelce to be able to pull that off. So the only way you realistically could do it is you would have to trade probably Derrick Henry, or maybe you could package James Conner and like a Galladay or something like that. But then you're creating a huge hole at your running back position.
Yeah.
So, no, I don't think you really have anything realistically that you want to make that move. And I don't realistically think you need to. What I would say is unless this is not a 2-quarterback league, drop one of those quarterbacks. Drop Drew Brees or trade Drew Brees. If somebody's needing a quarterback in your league, which I'm sure there's some people that could use a quarterback, or try to trade him to the guy who has Michael Thomas, depending on what quarterback they have. I hate carrying 2 quarterbacks, and now we're past buys for both of those teams. There's no reason to keep hold of it. And Wentz's playoff schedule is a dream.
Ayuk or AB at flex?
Right now, I'm going to go AB.
I thought that was going to be one where we would disagree. I will agree again with you. Diggs or Davis for Marie Down?
This is C. Davis. Are we talking about Corey Davis? I'm confused because this is Arizona.
That is. It's
Diggs. It's Diggs. I don't know what the other option is, but it's Diggs.
Diggs either way.
Yeah.
Goddard or your boy Hooper?
I like Goddard.
AJ Brown or Chubb at the flex spot?
And you're flexing honest, Austin. If these are the options you have to flex, good for you. Good for you, sir. It would be Nick Chubb, though, for me.
Here you go. Here's a question up your alley, Kev. You were the keeper guy here. Billy Foster traded Julio and Gaskin for Zeke and Shepard. In a keeper league right now, the keepers are CMC, Zeke, and Metcalf. Do you like that trade?
Yeah, I mean, I would assume that the reason you made this trade is maybe you're out of it and you're not going to be able to make the playoffs. And so I think this is a really smart move that people that are in keeper leagues don't do enough. Is once you're kind of at that point where you're going to be eliminated, it is time to start trying to turn over that roster for the next season because I think it's a smart move and you could kind of help people. It's kind of like what you would look at a little bit in a dynasty league where you try to, sell some assets. Obviously, we don't have rookie drafts and all that stuff in keeper leagues, so that's not an option. But I think trying to get better and maybe helping somebody helping a team that's trying to win now, and you're a team that's looking to build for the future. Far too often, people will just sit back and relax and chill with the team they have, and I think that's ridiculous. I think that the players you have could end up having more value to people now than what they are going to next year. And obviously trading somebody like Julio in a keeper league makes sense because we're talking about a guy who is now, 31? Still playing great. So it still looks like he's at the top of his game. But, I mean, his time in the league is numbered. So I don't hate this trade at all. I think that's actually a really smart move.
If Chubb starts Alejandro, you are playing him. Kev, another one for you. OJM, Montgomery or Taylor rest of the season?
David Montgomery.
Let's get the Michaels here. So at QB, Herbert, running back, McCaffrey, Jones, Carson, Gio, Lat, Murr, wide receiver, MT, Boyd, Deontay, Rager, DJ Moore, Hawk, and Hurst at tight end. It's a 12-man league. Any trades that we would recommend here, and should I trade CMC? Michael, we talked about this a little bit already. I'll give Kev some time to look over your roster. But with CMC, you're not going to get the return that you probably should for trading someone like him. So right now he's just a sit and hold to kind of wait and see what plays out. Unless, someone we had a question here earlier about, Aaron Jones and AJ Brown for McCaffrey. If you can get something like that, absolutely do it. But chances are you're not going to be able to get anything close. So McCaffrey's right now is going to be a hold. If you can get something that's even relatively, if you can, I'd be willing to trade McCaffrey at like a 70% discount, to be honest. Just I don't think you necessarily have to. I would rather hold him with the roster that you have. But Kev, now you've looked at this for a little bit. Do you recommend any trades, or how do you feel about Michael Z's roster?
Oh, it's great. I don't think there's really any move that you need to make. You're great at quarterback. At running back, even with losing CMC, you're still solid with Aaron Jones, Chris Carson. Maybe you could use a little bit more depth with Gio and Latavius Murray, but I think those are still decent options long term, or if something were to happen. At wide receiver, Michael Thomas, Tyler Boyd, Deontay Johnson, Rager, DJ Moore. Maybe if you wanted to trade one of those lower end wide receivers, whether you traded, Rager or Deontay, DJ Moore, Boyd, one of those guys for another running back, just to have some extra depth. I think you could do that because I think you have more than enough wide receivers there. But tight end, you're fantastic, Hockenson and Hurst. If you're only starting one tight end, I mean, honestly, I would maybe package Hurst and maybe DJ Moore and try to get a running back, maybe a low, an RB2 type running back, to give yourself some more depth, especially with losing CMC, because you're one more injury away from really hurting at running back. So I think that would probably be the move that I would make.
Zenon is stuck with 3 Buccaneers players with AB, Godwin, and Gronk. Been trying to trade him. Nobody wants to trade. If you're going to drop one of them, which would you drop? Or should Zenon just hold on to all 3? Even though Zenon hates having 3 on the same.
I would too. It makes sense. Like last week, it probably killed you if you had to start all 3 of them.
Yeah.
Depending on what your other options are at tight end, I would be Gronk is who I would drop out of those 3.
So going back to Noel's running back question from a little bit earlier, would you drop Jacoby Myers for Akers?
Yes.
Would you start Edmonds over McKissick?
It would really depend on what's going to happen. I mean, Kenyon Drake returned to practice today, so it sounds like he's going to play. If he's practicing on Wednesday, it's hard for me to believe that he's not going to, unless he somehow re-injures himself in practice. It sounds like Kenyon Drake is going to be back. So I would start McKissick.
Would you trade Monty and Thielen for Keenan?
Yes.
We already answered this one, right?
Yeah.
Would you start? Such an awesome question for Kev. Rojo or Jonathan Taylor? Would you rather have syphilis or gonorrhea?
Just kill me now. I'll go with Ronald Jones.
Need two of these from the Forgotten Ninja. Duke Johnson, Antonio Gibson, John Brown, Mixon if he plays. Pick two.
Duke Johnson and Antonio Gibson, as long as he plays. If Antonio Gibson doesn't play, I would probably go John Brown.
Yeah, I like John Brown this week. Alfredo McKissick or Melvin Gordon?
Melvin.
Going back to Danny had some of the trade questions earlier. Rodgers and Lamar trying to give up Lamar to get the value back. Is a guy like Eckler something to get in return for that? Or is the injury too risky?
Probably, I think you could get more.
Yeah.
Than that,
especially someone who like we don't really know the timeline for sure.
I mean, he could be out for the rest of the season, like we've said.
Yeah.
It is risky, or he could be back in 2 weeks, and then it could end up really working out for you. I hate having two quarterbacks, but the tough thing is I would probably try to see, wait and hope that Lamar has a Lamar floor, ceiling game. And if he does, that is whenever you look to trade him. Like right now, his value is just not there. I think you can get more for him. So I would wait to maybe this week where I think they have a matchup where you could expect some of that and go from there.
Ryan Kennedy wants to know Thielen, Chark, or Deontay Johnson. Ryan is worried about Thielen's targets and Chark's matchup versus Jair.
Well, we have to wait and see what's going to happen with Jair Alexander. He may not play this week. He got hurt, and so I mean, he may, he could miss. It's possible. So we'll have to wait and see there because if he's out, we're firing up DJ Chark because he looks way more appealing in that situation. And I would be definitely worried about Thielen's targets in this game against Chicago because I don't think they're going to have to throw the ball that much. And again, if Minnesota doesn't have to throw the ball, they're not going to do it because Mike Zimmer goes 6 to midnight anytime he thinks about running the ball. Like, I mean, he loves running the ball. He is, we keep saying it, but he is like a 1980 coach. Like, he loves to run the ball. When we say establish the run, that is his motto. If they could throw the ball 10 times a game and just run it the entire time, that's what he would do and play good defense. And so that's what kills Adam Thielen's upside is because they're not throwing the ball that much. So unless you think, you have to be able to tell yourself a story where you think the Bears are going to go out and really push them is where he's going to hit his ceiling here. So with that all being said, I would go Deontay.
But if Jair's out, would you play Chark?
I would still probably. I don't know. Like, can you trust Jake Luton to do what he did again last week against? I mean, was that a 1 week wonder? Was that is there something in the water in Jacksonville that we don't fucking know about that they just produce these fucking crazy stories every year? Because like last year with Minshew, and now with this guy. But I would probably still lean Deontay. I would probably rank them. Deontay, Thielen, and then Chark.
Kurt, JT Emmons or Fournette in a half PPR?
I would go Fournette.
I would as well, especially with Drake returning to practice. Colin Grant wants to know CMC and Ridley for Dalvin Cook loaded at wide receiver. So saying that Ridley, fuck you, I don't even care.
Yep, I'm good. Yep, do that.
Trade Tanny, Hunt, and David Johnson for Mahomes in a 1 quarterback league. Running backs are Aaron Jones, Mixon, and Gibson.
You gave up too much.
Even with still having Jones, Mixon, and Gibson?
Do you feel confident having Joe Mixon and Gibson?
No, I don't.
So that's my problem. I just think you give up too much to acquire him. I get it. Love Mahomes. Mahomes is a baller. There's no bigger fan of Patrick Mahomes than me. But I think you gave up too much. Because listen, Kareem Hunt's still going to be like a solid RB3 on a weekly basis. Like he's still usable every single week. And then David Johnson is more of a low end RB2, RB3 right now is what he looks like. But still, like that running back depth is such a hard thing to overcome. And if Joe Mixon gets knocked out again,
yeah. So this one for Brian went back to, I think the original question was Jonathan Taylor, I believe. So the other options would be Sanders, Edmonds, McKissick, Taylor on the bench. So would you be playing Taylor over any of those guys?
No.
Would you play McKissick over Edmonds if Drake is back?
Yes.
OJM with another question here for us. Would you trade Cook for Henry because of the playoff schedule?
No.
Yeah,
Dalvin Cook is on like a heater, a fucking heater right now. Like he is I think no, because one, you should get way more for Dalvin Cook than Derrick Henry. Okay. Like Dalvin Cook has been just absolutely just lighting the world on fire the last 2 weeks. So I would want well more than just Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry doesn't catch passes unless we're talking about a standard league. Like the drop off to Derrick Henry to Dalvin Cook is actually pretty significant in my book. And again, if you look at Minnesota, their run blocking has been fantastic this year. They're number 1 in adjusted line yards. They are number 2 in stuff rank, number 2 in second level rank, and number 2 in open field yards. Like their offensive line has been really good this year against the run, or for as far as run blocking is concerned. So I don't care about playoff schedule. Dalvin Cook is he's just crushing.
Yeah. Trey Burton, Logan Thomas, or Irv Smith in a half PPR.
Irv Smith.
This one is Mike Davis.
Yes.
For you, Tam. Looks like that trade for Karn got rejected real quick. Chris wants to know Watson or Rodgers.
It would be Aaron Rodgers. Really close. I think both of them are in really good matchups and in really good spots, but I just like Aaron Rodgers a little bit more.
Clamped back in the chat. Pick 2 to start this week: Boyd, Kirk, McKissick, Moss.
So I would go Tyler Boyd and Christian Kirk, I think.
I agree. Soccer196 joining us on Periscope via Twitter. I have Chase Edmonds and Jonathan Taylor. Should I drop anyone for Duke Johnson or J.D. McKissick?
I would ask if you have anybody else that you could drop for either one of those, because I think Duke Johnson's a really short term, probably just this week type guy, and then J.D. McKissick, like I still don't think he has a high ceiling. I think he's just a solid floor play right now.
Daniel rocking with us in the chat. Blue Crew in here. Nice to see some familiar faces. Blue Crew needs 2 in a PPR. Thielen, Godwin, Higgins already starting Cup. So which of those 3 are you going to sit for the Blue Crew?
I would sit Higgins.
Did Bryce Love get activated?
I don't know if he got activated, but he's probably. I would assume maybe he's an option.
I mean, you must be in a deep league if you're thinking about Bryce Love there, Carl's.
He returned to practice today. So
okay, Cup or Thielen for Allen? Oh.
Yeah, it's going to be Thielen for me, barely.
Yeah, but I have to go Cup with that game. I don't want to miss out on that. I think that can be. I think that is the highest total on the week. So I would I would roll Cup there. Finally got a disagreement. Daniel needs 2 of these running backs: McKissick, Mike Davis, Hunt, Jacobs, Duke.
It's going to be Jacobs and Duke Johnson for me.
Kurt needs 2 running backs: JT Edmonds for Ayuk there. So needs 2 of these 4 between JT Edmonds, Fournette, Ayuk.
Fournette and Chase Edmonds.
We've been talking about the Ravens' schedule. Would you trade for Lamar if you had Big Ben?
Sure, if you can make it happen. Like it's hard to say without understanding who you're going to trade for him. Maybe let us know what the trade looks like. But yeah, like I said, like I love the schedule they have coming up, and I think that there's a lot of people that have been down on Lamar and this passing offense in general. But I think things really start to open up once they hit the second half of the schedule, where things really start to open up for them. I think outside of Pittsburgh, everything else looks fantastic.
I'm going to try and roll through some of these to catch up to some of these questions. We're about 20 minutes behind on the questions. Taylor or Rojo?
Rojo.
I saw we had this question in one of our video comments. So if we never get to your questions for whatever reason, just drop it a comment in the video and we'll answer it. But Lockett or Metcalf?
Both. I mean, I have them both as wide receiver ones this week. I have Lockett ranked just barely ahead of Metcalf, though.
Such a hater. K. Ellis talks. Good to see you, K. Ellis. Haven't seen you around for a while. Needs 3: Sanders, A-Rob, Woods, Moore, Chark, Boyd, Claypool.
Miles Sanders.
Yes.
Allen Robinson.
Yes.
And Robert Woods.
Yahtzee. Daniel needs 2 of these wide receivers: DK, Deontay, Ayuk, Judy, Samuel.
First
DK. 2. Okay. Oh, and Godwin.
Oh, and Godwin?
Yeah, Godwin's in the mix as well.
Oh, so it'd be DK and Godwin then. I think. It's got to be close. Where do I have them? Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. So, yeah, that's what I thought. I knew I had them pretty high up there. So, yeah, that's what it would be for me. It'd be DK and Godwin.
What about these 3 at flex: Antonio Brown, Robbie Anderson, or Jonathan Taylor?
Robbie Anderson.
Preston Newsom wants to know, would you pick up Jonnu Smith this week? Would you play Jonnu Smith this week or pick up Irv, Trey Burton, Gesicki, Jordan Reed?
I would go Jonnu.
Yeah. I think you gotta stick with him. Those other options don't really inspire too much confidence. Damani wants to know, start 2 in a PPR: Parker, Higgins, Rager, Chark.
I would go Devontae Parker. And if Jair Alexander's out, I would go DJ Chark. If Jair plays, I would go T. Higgins.
Agree on that one. What do you think about this trade? Give Watson, Gesicki, and Crowder for Brady, Boyd, and Tonyan.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I mean, I think Tyler Boyd is a really solid high-end RB2 wide receiver 2. I like Tyler Boyd. The Bengals are going to continue to throw the ball at a ridiculous rate, and so that's good for Tyler Boyd. Even though they're in a good offense with T. Higgins and AJ Green, but I still think I like Tyler Boyd quite a bit. The other options there, I still think Tonyan and Gesicki at this point are kind of a toss-up. We'll see if that changes now with Preston Williams out of the lineup. And obviously, Sean Watson is better than what Brady is on a weekly basis. I would rather have Watson, but the rest of the options, I would probably go the other way.
Pick 2.5 PPR. A lot of JT questions. JT, Edmonds, Fournette, Ayuk, Jackson.
Fournette and Edmonds.
Ebron or Goddard?
Goddard.
Godwin or AB?
Godwin.
Already got that trade question. 6-team league. Murray, Cook, CMC, Adams, Hill, Waller, Ridley.
That's really, really good. Outside of CMC being hurt.
The Grizz. Titans defense against Rivers or Patriots defense against Lamar?
I would probably. I mean, I'm going to go Tennessee there in that situation.
Yeah.
I guess I would also ask, are there any other options like possibly Washington or Green Bay? Teams like that, or any of those guys, or any of those teams available?
Goddard or Andrews?
Goddard. I don't know why I was even thinking.
Manny or JD?
McKissick. Hold.
Yeah, you gotta hold Eckler at this point. You're not gonna get anything in return. You're kind of stuck with him. Chill Will, Claypool, Crowder, Ayuk, who's a PPR wide receiver 2 the rest of the year.
I mean, at this point, you got to say Jameson Crowder, but with the amount of targets that dude gets on a weekly basis, but trusting the Jets offense is a whole nother realm, and then Claypool's battling it out with Juju and Deontay. But, last week we saw him get 13 targets. They seem to really be, they play matchups, and those are the guys who are going to get the most targets for that week. I think Claypool on a weekly basis will be a little bit tough to trust, but I mean, if I had to rank them rest of season, I would probably go Crowder, Claypool, then Ayuk, though. I
agree. What about the Bucks defense against the Panthers? You talked about the Bucks being in a bounce back spot. Would you play them over the couple that they just threw out with Tennessee and Patriots?
Yeah, I think you could. Yeah. Sure. I think Tampa's probably like a top 7 or 8 unit this week.
Reagor, McKissick, or Sanders. So throwing Reagor into that mix.
Can I just get a question where we say we can start Jalen Reagor? Because it'd probably be McKissick, but it'd be close. But it'd be, yeah.
Titans, Lions, Giants. Oh my.
It would be the Titans.
Mike Davis, Duke Johnson.
Duke Johnson.
Looks like we would you pick up any of these waiver options with Goddard, Irv, or Jimmy Graham with Cook, Chubb, Diggs, Reagor, Ebron, Cooper, AB, Henderson?
Yeah, drop Ebron for Goddard.
Thoughts on Jefferson this week?
He's going to be hard to trust. The Bears, they've been really good against the pass this year, which I think a lot of people thought it was going to be kind of the other way around. Now, he doesn't get a terrible matchup, but Jalen Johnson still has been pretty good. That's the guy he's probably going to see the most of. He's only allowed a 50% catch rate and pretty much 1.13 yards per route covered. So he has a slight advantage over him, but it's not a great matchup like it's been in weeks past.
Reagor, Shepard, or Boyd? Need one of them.
Tyler Boyd.
Need 3 out of these for K, Breezy, Jacobs, Davis, Drake, Hunt.
Sit Kenyon Drake.
Trying to get Derrick Henry, my RBs, or Chubb, Hunt, David Johnson.
Good luck. You're gonna have to give up. I mean, I don't say that to be rude. Like that you don't really, without giving up Chubb, which again, you're just giving. It's like a 1-for-1 thing there.
Yeah,
you're not really helping yourself by doing so. I guess you still have Hunt, but you're not going to get it done with Hunt and David Johnson. So you're going to have to give up more than just that.
Looking for a defense to get through the playoffs. I mean, just stream at that point. But do you have any between the Eagles and the Rams? Any thoughts between those two?
No, I would just stream. I mean,
Yeah.
there's very rarely a time that I don't think that you're ever gonna, and you definitely don't hold two defenses.
Yes. Especially if you're looking to make a playoff run. If you have those roster, drop one of them and pick up one of these handcuff running backs. Eton, I mean, this is kind of going to what we were talking about with Zeke a couple of weeks ago. I honestly don't know what to expect for you in return for CMC. So that's just one of those situations where I put him out on the waiver wire, see what kind of offers you get, and then drop us a question in the YouTube or on one of our social media channels because it's literally impossible to try and tell you who you should be targeting with his health and status for the rest of the season up in the air. Tyler Boyd, Devontae Parker are on waivers. Mike, and you have Curtis Samuel? Yes, drop. I mean, I'm definitely dropping Samuel for one of them. Would you drop Samuel and Kirk to pick up those other two?
Definitely dropping Samuel.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you could. Especially like I said, with Preston Williams out now. I think that gives a big boost to Devontae Parker. So I think you could drop both of them.
Looks like Colin Grant made the trade. Good for you, Colin. Who should I start as my wide receiver 1 and 2? Godwin, Robbie Anderson, Judy, Justin Jefferson, Cobb, Sterling, Shepard.
Godwin and Robbie Anderson.
Hazelnut 22. Johnny Smith or Jimmy Graham this week and a half PPR?
I would go Jonnu.
Judy or Drake?
Oh, Judy.
Yeah. Rest of the season, who do you want? Goddard, Fant, Hawk, or Andrews?
I would rank them Hawkinson, Goddard, Andrews, and Fant. But they all can honestly be top 5 options the rest of the year. So,
yeah, I mean, if you're actually choosing from them or thinking about trades, I agree with. Man, we've been agreeing way too much this show. Goff or Derek Carr?
Goff.
Would you trade Henry for McCaffrey?
Would I give up Henry for McCaffrey? No.
Judy Drake, that is Judy. Would you bench Godwin for John Brown?
I mean, Godwin wasn't terrible though last week. I mean, I get John Brown was better. John Brown was obviously good and a good matchup, but I would still go Godwin.
Bubbly, I think Drake returned to practice today, so I would just monitor that as we go through the week. And you can always come back on Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern. We go live again. We'll answer all these questions there then as well. We need one here for Kurt. Malcolm Brown, Cam Akers, Justin Jackson, Edmonds, John Taylor, and a half PPR.
He's trying to figure out whatever way he can get Jonathan Taylor into it. I would probably go. I mean, if Justin Jackson plays, I would probably go Justin Jackson, but I don't know if it sounds like he's going to play. He didn't practice today. So I would probably go Chase Edmonds. Even though that even with Kenny and Drake back, I still probably would go Chase Edmonds because he's still going to be involved in the passing game. And so, yeah, I would go Chase Edmonds.
Would you trade Juju and Manny for Mostert?
No.
If Clyde was in the same price range, would you do that?
Yes.
Davis or McKissick?
Mike Davis.
Would you trade Goddard for T. Higgins?
Sure. If you don't need a tight end, yeah, I think you could do that for sure.
Robert needs to bench 2 of these. So we got Gordon, Lindsey, John Brown, Freeman, Higgins, Chark, Sanders, Reagor, Lockett.
Okay, so you're benching Philip Lindsay. So only 2 of them, all these guys? If that's the case, then bitch, Lindsey and Devonta Freeman.
You like Gordon over Lindsey?
Yeah.
How do you feel about Mike? You talked about this a little bit earlier, but for Alexis here, your thoughts on Mike Davis versus the Bucs defense?
So this is what I'm going to say. I think people should be tempering expectations here because people are going to look at this and some of the stuff, if you go and look at like if you look at some of the fantasy points against stuff, the Bucs have given up on the season. They're like 9th in receiving yards, and receptions to running backs, to pass catching running backs, right? But they've been really good against the run, which we know. If you go back and look, for the Bucs, I've heard a lot of talk about that with this week. Like everyone's saying, like, oh, the Bucs have been terrible against the pass. The Bucs have been terrible against pass catching running backs. Mike Davis is a smash play, and they go back and say, okay, yeah, but if you go back and look at week 2 where he went out and had like 8 for 70 or something like that week 2 whenever CMC played, when the last time the Bucs and Panthers played. But if you go back since then, like they really haven't given up anything impressive, like at all. Even last week against Alvin Kamara, like Alvin Kamara didn't have like a typical Alvin Kamara game against them. So I am tempering expectations for Mike Davis. I still think though that he's probably a low end RB2.
Ayuk is in a starting lineup. AB, Samuel, Hollywood, and Chark will be on the bench. Would you play any of those over Ayuk?
I think you can play AB and then Chark, especially if DJ or if Jay Alexander's out.
Can we trust Drew Lock?
Yeah, it's another good matchup against the Raiders. I mean, you could definitely exploit the Raiders through the air. And then they played pretty well last week. He was 33 fantasy points, something like that, or 29 fantasy points in 4-point league. So,
A-Rob or Diggs?
Diggs.
Yeah, it hurts my heart, but I agree there as well. D-Hop over Justin Jefferson.
All day, twice on Sunday.
JT or Lindsey?
I would go Lindsey.
Okay, KLS here. 6-man PPR 1QB league. Allen, Lamar, DK, Chark, Ridley, Moore, AJ Brown, Boyd, Henry, Jacobs, Mixon, Hunt, Demont, Andrews, Mike Davis. Do you trade Andrews, Moore, and Demont for Kelsey? So trading away Moore still gives Ellis, DK, Chark, Ridley, AJ Brown, Boyd.
I would do that trade.
Yeah. That's bonkers. That is bonkers. Tam, I have Chubb and Drake coming back. Which two would you drop? Boyd, Bernard, or Marvin Jones?
Marvin Jones. And if you have to drop another one, it's definitely going to be Bernard. I'm not dropping Tyler Boyd.
Yeah. Double A, do I trade James Robinson, AJ Brown, Nick Chubb for Derrick Henry and A-Rod? Currently have Cook, James Conner, Keenan Allen, MTA.
No, hell no. No way. Am I trading James Robinson, AJ Brown, and Nick Chubb for just Derrick Henry and Aaron Rodgers? Absolutely. No, I would not.
That one is Diggs. Already got to that one. Connor or Ebron? Or I get Jonnu, I'm assuming, or Eric Ebron.
Jonnu.
Goddard or Jonnu?
Goddard.
Trade Hill and Hunt for Josh Jacobs and Robbie Anderson.
Yes. I think you could do that.
Here's an interesting one. Chris Godwin for Nick Chubb.
If you're getting the Nick Chubb side, yes. Absolutely.
Edmonds, Kirk, Ayuk, Chark, or Higgins in the flex. That's Kirk for me.
Like I said, I'm going to keep saying it. I'm going to say it again. Monitor Jair Alexander, because if Jair Alexander is out, then I would probably play DJ Chark.
Edmonds or Swift?
Swift.
Justin Jefferson or Chase Edmonds?
I would probably go Justin Jefferson here. That's if Kenyon Drake plays. If obviously Kenyon Drake's out, it's definitely Chase Edmonds.
No, Jason, do not do that. Rock with the players that you have. Judy, Fournette, or Swift at flex, full PPR.
I'm gonna go with Judy.
Victor Lopez needs to sit one of these, JT, Wilkins, or Murray.
Sony's finally going to give me. I'm finally going to have to say it. I'm finally going to have to go Jonathan Taylor. I would go Jonathan Taylor. I mean, is that Latavius Murray, I guess?
Yeah, I would assume.
Yeah, I would sit Wilkins.
Start T. Higgins or Justin Jefferson.
T. Higgins.
Goddard or Jordan Reed.
Goddard.
Jefferson or Mike Evans.
Mike Evans.
Judy, I'm assuming that's JT or Drake. Rolling Judy there. Or McKissick, I guess.
Yeah.
Still Judy for me.
Yep.
Mike Davis or Brandon Cooks.
Brandon Cooks.
Trade CMC and Galladay for Derrick Henry and Stephon Diggs.
Yeah. Yep.
Diggs or Sanders.
Aaron, how do you have this good of a team? Like, that is amazing. I guess I'm going Miles Sanders, I guess. You have to tell us. I need to know, who are you starting at running back and wide receiver for you not to be able to play those guys?
Yeah. Need two of these. Cooks, Claypool, Reagor.
Cooks and Claypool.
Alejandro, we do, 4 lives in a week? We do Sunday morning, which is the start set lineup. Sunday night is waivers. Wednesday, obviously, for what we're doing right now. And then Thursday, Kev, Ryan, and Maddie go live for some DFS talk. So there are 4 live streams in the week. We appreciate you asking the question. If you're watching us for the first time, please slam that subscribe button. If we have brought you any value here tonight, we're going to try and roll through these and get out of here. I have Thomas Robinson, Boyd, and Galladay. Who should I give up to get a running back, and who should I aim for?
Well, again, this is one of those, like, who do you have a running back? Why do you think you need a running back? What kind of running back are you looking for? Do you need just more of a, low end RB2 type, or do you need, are you in need of somebody like, because you have no running backs? That kind of changes the question, because you have enough wide receiver depth. I think that you could move one of these wide receivers, but I wouldn't want to just give one up just to give one up, just to get a running back, because then you're kind of creating another hole.
Do you have a preference out of that group? If you were, assuming there's a hole at running back, do you have a preference of who you'd want to throw?
Well, yeah, I would rather give up Tyler Boyd. I think he's the least. But I mean, because Galladay's hurt right now, so I guess there's still a chance Kenny Galladay could play this week. I guess he's week to week, so we could see on that. But as of right now, he's banged up.
Baker or Tua?
I would go Baker.
Thoughts on Mahomes, Clyde, and DJ Moore for Aaron Jones and Lamar?
I would go Lamar and Aaron Jones.
Kirk or Higgins?
Kirk.
Would you drop Goddard to pick up Tanyan? Or pick up Goddard?
No, would I pick up Goddard? Yes.
Okay. Singletary or Gallman? I'll go Singletary there.
No, I'm gonna go Wayne Gallman.
You're going Gallman?
Yeah, Wayne Gallman has been quietly just like Wayne Gallman has not been bad. The last 3 weeks, he scored double-digit fantasy points in 3 straight weeks. But I guess we'll have to see how they utilize because Devonta Freeman has been out the last 2 weeks, and we'll have to see how they utilize because Devonta Freeman did return today as a limited capacity in practice. But so depending on what we hear from that, but right now I would lean towards Wayne Gallman. Wayne Gallman has not looked terrible against one of the worst, behind one of the worst run blocking offensive lines.
Throwing Drew Lock into this mix, would you start Drew Lock over Baker, or are you just going to roll Baker out of this group?
I think I would go. I think I would go. This is tough. This is because it would be between Drew Lock and Baker Mayfield for me. But the thing that scares me about Baker Mayfield is, like, the good thing is that it's a really good match. It's a great matchup against Houston, right? Houston's defense is terrible, but Houston's offense should be good enough to push the Browns to actually have to play and probably at least utilize their passing game because we know what the Browns want to do. The Browns want to go out there and run the ball 30 times with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. So if the game script dictates that they're gonna have to throw the ball, then I would probably lean towards Baker in this matchup. But I do think Drew probably has a higher ceiling.
This one was Brandon Cooks for you, Garcia. Goddard or Ebron?
Goddard. Man, I am all about I have Goddard as a tight end 3 this week.
Woo! Thoughts on Mike Davis? Would you start him over Montgomery or Edmonds?
Yes. See, the thing is with this one, we're not going to have the luxury of knowing the time, right? Yeah. Because David Montgomery, unless we get word that David Montgomery clears protocol, if he clears protocol before Sunday, well, I guess we'll have to. But if we know then, and if he clears protocol, I'm playing David Montgomery. But if David Montgomery's ruled out, then it's pretty easy Mike Davis over Chase Edmonds.
Gibson or Claypool?
If Gibson plays, it's Gibson.
JT or Lindsey?
Lindsey.
Diggs. Sebastian, we answered this one for Isaac before, and it's Diggs. Deontay Johnson or Devontae Parker?
Deontay. It's close though, because I do like Devontae Parker now with Preston Williams ruled out. I think he becomes a little bit more interesting.
Guys, just a heads up in the chat. I'm going to skip over the trade questions just to try and get through this in a decent amount of time. Drop your trade questions on one of the other videos, one of the recent ones we've done, and we'll get to your trade questions in one of those videos. Just want to try and get through some of these trades before we try and some of these start sets before we try and get out of here. Kenyon Drake, Mike Davis, JT, or Melvin Gordon need 2 for Mike games?
So Melvin Gordon and Mike Davis.
Drake, Godwin, Woods. Fan or Ingram?
Fan.
Hunt or Ayuk?
Kareem Hunt and then Shark.
Would you trade Jones for James Robinson?
Not unless you're getting Aaron Jones. I'm not trading Aaron Jones for James Robinson. James Robinson's schedule is really bad. He has a couple more weeks left that I think that are solid, but then there's some really, really bad matchups in there.
Juju or Boyd?
Juju.
McKissick or Edmonds?
Edmonds.
Electricity, this one is Lockett. JT, Wilkins, Balaj, Patrick. Start 2. JT.
Yeah. And I guess Balaj.
Yeah. You did it 2020. You got us. Goddard or Hooper?
Goddard.
Sanders or Mixon. This is the 6-team league from Ellis.
Miles.
Regular AB.
I would go Antonio Brown.
AJ Brown or James Conner.
It's tough. I have them both as one's on RB1, and the other one I have as a wide receiver 1. I would go Connor.
Rager or Williams in a standard.
Which Williams? Because Preston Williams is out. That's where. But it's okay but it's still a standard, so I would still go Rager.
Already did this one. Johnny Z, T. Higgins, Marquise Brown, or Mike Williams in a half PPR.
I would go Higgins.
Do we trust Jacoby Myers the rest of the season?
I mean, right now you have to, because the Patriots have nobody else to throw the ball to right now. I mean, he looked really good, right? And we saw last year with Myers. I mean, there was moments that he looked okay, right? Yeah. But I mean, he was also I believe he was an undrafted free agent. I mean, somebody that he was on nobody's radar when he was coming out, and so I mean, he looks like he's taking another step. I mean, he looks really good, and he looks like the perfect Cam Newton target. You know, that big body wide receiver. So I mean, obviously it was against the Jets. But I think at the worst right now, I think you have to look at him like a wide receiver 4 at a flex option on a weekly basis, depending on matchup.
Manny or T?
T. Higgins.
Drake or Woods?
Woods.
Would you pick up Davis and drop Gio?
Yes.
Who'd you play Chubb over, Mike Davis, Boyd, or Gibson?
Pick a name out of a hat. I mean, I would start Nick Chubb over all of them. Okay.
Yes.
But if I had to rank how I would play them, it would be Chubb, then Gibson as long as he plays, and then it would be Mike Davis, then Tyler Boyd.
Speaking of those names, Mike Davis or Judy?
I would go Mike Davis.
Johnny Ratonyan?
Janu.
As far as Big Ben, looks like as long as he continues to test negative, he'll play, but they might hold him out anyway because of his knee. So I would just monitor that, and I would come back on Sunday, and we can help you out more then. Tua or Burrow?
Tua.
This one is Goddard. Don't know what that is. Flex, Gibson, Chubb, AB, Ayuk, need 2.
Chubb for sure. And then Gibson if he plays. If he doesn't, I would go AB.
Malcolm Brown or Akers if Henderson sits for Jonathan Rodriguez.
Cam Akers.
Lock or Tanny?
Tannehill.
Higgins, Jefferson, and Carson, who I play at flex, and my wide receivers this week.
I mean, you're flexing Carson. And then I would go Evans and Higgins, I guess, if that's how I don't know how many wide receivers you need.
Fournette or Evans or Drake, half PPR.
Fournette.
Links back in the building. 2 running backs between JT, Connor, Edmonds, Wilkins.
Connor, and then Chase Edmonds.
Would you drop McKinnon?
No. Though I do think you could look to trade him.
Lynx also needs 3 wide receivers between Kupp, Fulgham, McLaurin, John Brown, Tim Patrick.
So Kupp is a lock. McLaurin's a lock. Oh, and then Fulgham. Yeah. First 3.
This is Goddard for you. Man, a lot of Goddard Hooper questions.
I know he's gonna go out and have 3 for 30, and people are gonna be cussing my name.
Irv or Jimmy G?
I would go Irv.
This
Chubb.
is Chubb, regular AB.
I would go AB.
Swift, Fournette, Gibson.
So if Gibson plays, it's Gibson. If not, I would go Swift.
Aaron, what is going on here, buddy? Deciding between Sanders over Kamara? What is this, a start one in each position? Holy shit.
That's that. This is the same guy that had that loaded roster, right?
Yeah.
I still want to know who he's starting at who all of his wide receivers and running backs are, because I don't understand how you would want to I can't imagine, so you have Kamara, who's the other guy you possibly could have, I guess, that that maybe James Robinson, maybe at running back, that would become a question, because I would want to play Kamara. Yes, you're not sitting Kamara, even though it's not a great matchup against San Francisco, because they do have they still have been really good against running backs, but Kamara gets targeted like a wide receiver. So I would probably still keep Kamara.
In a standard for Dave McKnight, need one wide receiver here out of Kirk, AB, or Samuel.
I would go probably in a standard league. I'd probably go Kirk.
Jones, Miles, and Kamara.
Do you not have a flex? I would start all three if you can. I mean, I'm starting Kamara, Aaron Jones, and Miles Sanders, unless you don't have a flex spot.
Swift or Duke Johnson if David Johnson is out.
Duke.
Hold or trade Clyde.
That's tough to say, Nathan, because we don't know. I don't know what the rest of your roster looks like. If you have the room that you can make a move, sure, I think you could do it. But it's really tough without knowing what the rest of your team looks like.
Would you trade AB and Gibson for Chubb?
Yeah.
Fulgham or Chubb?
Chubb.
AB or AJB?
AJ Brown.
All right, that is going to do it. We appreciate you guys jumping in here. Like I said, any questions that we didn't get to that I skipped over, especially any of the trade questions, please drop them in a comment on one of the other videos that's already done, and we will make sure that we get to all of these. We appreciate you guys for bringing us all this engagement. This has been a lot of fun. It's what I look forward to all week. So until Sunday. If you guys are in a DFS, though, check out the stream tomorrow. They will be going live for the DGen Nation pod. If you want to watch DFS, or if you play DFS, rather, like I said, any other questions, just drop them into the comments on another video. We will make sure we get to that. Until Sunday, you can follow me on Twitter at @CKutzerFF. You can follow Kev on Twitter at FantasyRath13. Happy Veterans Day again to you, Kev. Thank you for your service. You can follow the Fantasy Authority Twitter at FF_authority. We will talk to you guys on Sunday. Hope you have a great week. Bye-bye.